prop picks coming at you guys. Geno Smith over under 237.5 pass yards. We were trying to figure out what the best bet for these player props would be. We got 3 for you guys. Starting off, Geno Smith over under 237.5 pass yards. I'm going to come off the jump over on Geno Smith pass yards. Look, Geno's had a couple bad games. We talked about it in the game preview. Weeks 1 through 9, my man's was on fire. Weeks 10 to now, he's cooled down a little bit. Still leader in the clubhouse for comeback player of the year. Maybe not so much MVP like there were some weird people talking about. Not me, not at all. And Geno, he also had a terrible game against the 49ers earlier in the season. Look, I get it. In week 2, he went 24 of 30, 197 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. It was his worst showing by far in weeks 1 through 9 of the season. But they get rebounds here today. It's going to take a couple of things. He needs the offensive line with his 2 rookie tackles to play much better. They're going to have their hands full with Nick Bosa and company just wreaking havoc. But if they can just hold up for a split second longer than they have coming into this game, I think Geno will be able to make the right decisions, get the ball to DK Metcalf, get the ball to Tyler Lockett, and they'll have a fairly solid offensive showing. Now, it is important, too, that the Seahawks return Kenneth Walker. Huge, huge, huge return for the Seahawks, as that takes a little bit of pressure off of Geno Smith. They can hand it off. He doesn't have to do anything, or he doesn't have to do everything. He still has to do some things, but Kenneth Walker will be able to take a little bit of that load off. And when Kenneth Walker is in the lineup, Geno is averaging over 237.5 pass yards, and he's also thrown for over 237.5 pass yards in 8 of 13 games this season, and he's done it in the last 5. I think Geno Smith, everything is clicking. I'm going over 237.5 pass yards. Another player prop to look at, Christian McCaffrey's rush yard prop is set at 77.5 rush yards. Over the last 5 games, he's only averaging 58.8 yards per game, but he is coming off of a matchup against the Buccaneers where he ran for over 100 yards. He ran for 119 yards against the Buccaneers, so maybe things are starting to get figured out. He's getting some more attempts. And without Deebo Samuel taking away some of the target share, without taking away some of the receiving yard share and rushing yard share, I think Christian McCaffrey is going to go over 77.5 rush yards. Look, since the bye week, the Seahawks have played 3 games. In those 3 games, they've allowed over 200 yards twice, and in the game they didn't allow 200 yards rushing, they allowed 171. It's not a good rush defense in Seattle. It doesn't matter if they're home or away. They've struggled to stop the run, and then you put in Christian McCaffrey, who averages over 100 yards per game against Seattle in his career. I'm all over Christian McCaffrey, 77.5 rush yards. And last but certainly not least, George Kittle to score today at plus 148. Seattle has played 13 games this season, and they have allowed a tight end touchdown in 6 of those games, nearly half. They haven't allowed a tight end touchdown the last 2 games, but I expect that to change here tonight as they allow a lot of fantasy points. If you're into fantasy, 2 tight ends, double-digit fantasy points on the season. Kittle is elite, and we've talked about it. Without Deebo Samuel and with a banged-up QB situation, I think George Kittle will be seeing a lot of target share. I think he'll be getting a large percentage of targets this game, and probably a good fair amount of them in the red zone. And I don't know if Seattle's defense will be able to stop George Kittle consistently here tonight. So give me George Kittle to score at plus 148. We're on the over Geno Smith. We're on the over Christian McCaffrey. And we're on George Kittle to score. Life's too short. Bet the over, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to DRF Sportsbook's betting breakdown of tonight's Thursday night football game. It's bound to be a good one. If you're in Iowa, get your bets in at ia.drf.com, or you can download the DRF Sportsbook app at the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and you can get betting. We're Iowa's only local sportsbook. Happy betting. Good luck. We'll be back on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday with some more betting breakdowns as bowl season is finally upon us.